If you're a first responder, you know that feeling all too well. You get on scene and it is just pure chaos. So today, we're going to break down how you can manage that cognitive noise, and more importantly, how to find an anchor when literally everything is screaming for your attention at once.
And this kind of loud isn't just about sirens or a crackling radio. No, it's the frantic energy coming off of bystanders, it's that ticking clock in your own head, and that relentless pressure to just go faster. This is the world where life or death decisions have to get made.
And here's what's so interesting, how different brains handle all that pressure. For our neurodivergent responders, maybe someone with ADHD or someone with a more introverted thinking style, this sensory overload isn't just a little stressful. It can actually become cognitively dangerous. It creates the perfect conditions for taking shortcuts and making critical mistakes.
So to really get why that happens, we need to look at the two, let's call them operating systems, that kick in inside our brains when we're under pressure. This is really the core of how we make decisions out in the field.
So, on one hand, you've got System 1. This is your brain's autopilot. It's fast, it's automatic, it's all based on patterns you've seen before. And it's super efficient, right up until the moment it's not. Then you've got System 2. This is your deliberate, analytical brain. Yeah, it's slower, it's more structured, but it is way, way safer in complex situations. The big problem? When a shift gets chaotic, our brain defaults hard into System 1.
And listen, this is such a crucial point. That default to a faster, more impulsive system, that's not some personal flaw. It's not a weakness in your character. It's neurology. It's just how the brain is wired. So the answer isn't to just try harder. It's to use a smarter tool.
So that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? When chaos is just swirling all around you, how do you intentionally hit the brakes, pull your brain out of that reactive autopilot mode, and fire up the safer, more deliberate one?
Well, the answer is a really cool concept called a cognitive anchor. This whole technique is about creating a deliberate pause right in the middle of the storm. Now, an anchor isn't about, taking a deep breath and finding your zen. Not at all. It is a specific clinical checkpoint. Think of it like a mental hard stop that's designed to interrupt that runaway train of thought and force your brain back onto a structured, reliable track. So here's what an anchor is actually doing for you. First, it slams the brakes on that chaotic cognitive spiral. It takes a huge load off your working memory. But most importantly, it acts like a deliberate off-ramp from that reactive System 1 thinking, forcing you to detour right back to the safer, analytical road of System 2.
And the timing on this is absolutely everything. The most effective anchor isn't something you do halfway through a call. It has to be the very first clinical thing you do when you get to a patient, before anything else.
And here it is. This is the first and, I'd argue, the most powerful anchor you can have. Before you even think about an airway, before you grab vitals, you ask this one simple question. It works for adults, it works for kids, and its real power is just how simple it is. In 1 second, it cuts your entire decision tree in half and sets the tone and urgency for the whole call, which stops you from getting fixated on the wrong thing. Okay, so that one anchor is powerful for sure, but a whole framework? That's even better. We can actually build on this idea using some principles from a pediatric emergency system called HANTEVI to create a cognitive flow that keeps us locked into that safer System 2 way of thinking. All right, so take a look at this flow. It all starts with our anchor question, sick versus not sick. And then, only from there do we move sequentially through the basics. Airway, breathing, circulation. See how each step just logically follows the last? There's no jumping ahead to meds or interventions. This structure forces you to be deliberate, to think sequentially, and it acts as a powerful brake on our natural impulse to just rush. This, right here, is what System 2 looks like in action. So, why is this structured approach so incredibly important? Well, it's because it directly speaks to the very specific challenges that neurodivergent brains face in these high-stress environments.
If you are a responder with ADHD, you already know that stress can just pour gasoline on impulsive decisions. Your working memory can get overloaded almost instantly. A framework like this, it acts like an external scaffold for your brain. It holds the information in a clear, linear order so you don't have to juggle it all in your head.
Now, for an introverted responder, the sheer noise of a scene can be unbelievably draining on your cognitive energy. You thrive on structured internal processing, not just going fast for the sake of speed. Having a predictable, repeatable framework like this one preserves that precious mental bandwidth and lets you think clearly.
And let's get one thing straight. Using these kinds of tools is not a sign of weakness. It's not an admission that you're slow. It is a professional strategy, plain and simple. Anchors don't slow down good clinicians. They protect them from the chaos of a bad environment.
So, let's bring this all home and talk about what this means for building a career that you can actually sustain, for giving your brain a solid place to stand. And this is especially crucial for students and anyone mentoring them.
You know, this is something that every single student and new hire needs to hear. The goal isn't to be the fastest person on scene. It's not. The true mark of a master clinician is being able to be consistent and effective, especially when everything is going sideways. That consistency, it's built with tools just like these.
And this is the thought I really want to leave you with. Chaos. That's a constant in our world. We can't get rid of it, but we can change how we meet it. Anchors don't make the pressure just disappear. What they do is they give your brain a stable, solid place to stand right in the middle of all of it. And that right there is the foundation of not just good medicine, but a long, sustainable career.